Hi everyone, Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey. I hope you're all having a great day, and I hope you've got a great book on your lap or on your nightstand, and you're just having a great read, escaping into your favorite genre. Today, I'm very excited. We've had a very exciting week or more in this part of the world. We're in Atlantic Canada, and it's been awards time. So there's always a great flurry of activity, lots of excitement, celebrating authors and giving out awards. So it's always a really fun time in the industry in Atlantic Canada. So today we have with us an award-winning author who is Charlene Carr, and she is also here in Nova Scotia, but she's a world traveler. So we'll maybe get her to share a little bit about that with us. But she studied literature at university, attaining both a BA and an MA in English, including a study program at Oxford. She has independently published 9 novels, and her first agented novel, Hold My Girl, which I am thoroughly enjoying here. I'm about halfway through, so I'll make sure she doesn't do any spoilers for me. It was sold to HarperCollins Canada, Source Books Landmark US, Welbeck Publishing in the UK, and Alma Litera in Lithuania. It was named one of the best books of 2023 by CBC Books and was an Amazon editor's pick for Best Literature and Fiction, was shortlisted for both the Thomas Riddell Atlantic Fiction Award and the Dartmouth Book Award, and has been optioned for adaptation to the screen. That's exciting. She received Arts Nova Scotia and Canada Council grants for her next novel, We Rip the World Apart, which I happen to have, drum roll, a signed copy of from last year's book awards. I cherish my signed copies. It was shortlisted for the Riddell and the Forest of Reading Evergreen Award and won the Dartmouth Book Award in 2025. She lives in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia with her husband and young daughters. So let's bring Charlene up to join me and we'll find out a little bit more about her. Hi, Charlene. Hi. Welcome to the author journey. Wow.
Thank you.
That's quite a bio. And like I was saying before we started, there are a few options of bios, and I really wanted to read them all, but I figure, well, we'll just get you to share some of the things that we didn't get to, like being the youngest of 4 and the only girl.
Yeah.
What was it like to grow up in that household of brothers?
It was intense. Yeah. I'm a very fast walker because they didn't wait for me with my little legs, and yeah, I don't know. It was definitely interesting. They think I was spoiled and I got treated very differently, and I felt kind of, not that they were spoiled, but that I kind of got like the dregs of everything, you know?
Leftovers. I feel for you as the youngest of 5. I know where you're coming from, but I have 2 of each. So, you know, it was kind of a nice balance. But when I read We Rip the World Apart, it was the first of your novels that I had been introduced to and that I read, and I devoured it. This was last year, and I am so sorry for the delay. I've been meaning to invite you for ever since then. So I'm so excited that you're here finally, and that was totally on me. But when I realized, I'm very pleased. When I realized just how prolific a writer you were, I thought, oh my goodness, I loved We Rip the World Apart so much that I need to read more of her books. Like, how has it felt? Like, now it seems like the momentum is building for you. You know, your book, this one was picked up by HarperCollins. How does that feel after being an indie author for so long?
Really good. I mean, there's definitely a lot of highs and lows in being an author. I think, you know, no matter the track you take, but I think the biggest kind of shift or change going from publishing my own books to working with traditional publishers was having a team around you. These people who already believed in your book and supported your book
Mm.
and wanted to see it do well. And it was really encouraging. It was really exciting. It also came with some pressure that I didn't anticipate, internal pressure. Uh,
Right.
so We Ripped the World Apart was part of a two book deal with Hold My Girl, which you're reading now, and Hold My Girl was the one that I submitted with. And so, when I went to write Ripped the World Apart, it was the first book I'd ever written with a deadline. Uh, the first book that, knowing someone had already paid for it and like, oh, they're expecting a certain level of, quality. And I definitely suffered from some imposter syndrome while writing it.
Sure.
But
Oh,
I also think of all my books, it's the one I'm most proud of. And so, I guess that time pressure crunch worked for me.
right. Well, but there's also that little thing called, practice, and, the more you write, the better you get. So having 9 books prior to that probably, fed into that, right?
I'm sure it played a role for sure.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, like, when did you first start writing and when was your very first book published? Would it have been the first in the 5-part series?
Yes. So I started writing as a child, and I don't even know how many novel starts and finishes there are in, drawers and old computers
Right.
that are probably now wasting away in some landfill. Um, but I finished my first, I think it would have been considered novel length. I think it was around 55,000 words, maybe, novel when I was 14. And
Wow.
we have one paper copy of it. My mom has tried and tried and tried to find like the floppy disk or whatever, and we haven't
Oh,
found it. So I don't know if I'll ever look back to do anything with it, because like I'd have to read the paper copy, and then
you'd have to have
you wouldn't want
somebody
to write it for
transcribe
credit.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
it was. I guess you'd consider it a young adult.
Uh-huh.
And then the next novel I wrote took me 10 years to finish. I started when I was 17, and I finished it when I was 27.
Wow.
And so that's actually Beneath the Silence that you see up on the screen
Okay.
there. But it was the
I
second
thought I'd
one
pull up. This is
published.
like unbelievable, like just to see all this. It's very exciting. So Beneath the Silence was book 2.
Yeah. Yes. And then it was the second one I published as well. So When Comes the Joy, I wrote after Beneath the Silence, but I published it
Hmm.
first.
Hmm.
And yeah, and really that's because I wrote the Beneath the Silence, and at the time I didn't know anything about the publishing industry, and I sent it to a few local Atlantic Canadian publishers. I got some very nice, feedback, written notes, but nobody took it. And then I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know about getting an agent. I didn't know, what it would mean to send it to other indie publishers. And I thought, just like, oh, I guess I can't do this.
Oh,
And I think about it now, and just like, I think I sent it to 4 people, and I'm just like, oh, I guess
I
my
guess,
writing's not at
right.
that level.
That's the end of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so a friend convinced me to try self-publishing, but Beneath the Silence was like, my 10-year baby. It's just like,
Right.
I came from kind of the academic world, and especially then, even more so than now, there was a big stigma around self-publishing.
Yep.
And so I wrote a new book and kind of researched what was selling in that area. Unfortunately, it was like romance and thriller, which I wasn't interested in writing.
Hmm.
So I kind of
Hmm.
did the next closest thing of women's fiction, and specifically wrote that to try self-publishing. And it was really fun, and I was reaching a lot of readers. And yeah, that started a 9-book journey into self-publishing.
Wow. Wow. And what platform did you use? I know, I mean, way back when, there were a lot of options, but some that weren't quite so
I used
appealing.
the majority of the options available.
Hmm.
So I went wide on Amazon, um, and Kobo, and then I used Draft to Digital, which goes
Hmm.
to, I don't know, at the time maybe it was like 5. Now I think
Yep.
it's like 10 or 12
Yeah.
different avenues. Yeah.
And so,
So
and I think now that Draft to Digital will do print as well, right?
I think so. I had already
Yeah.
had everything set up through Ingram, so
Yeah. Oh,
I
good.
didn't use that, but I believe they
Excellent.
do now. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
really pay uh, too much attention to kind of like the
Not
backlist.
anymore.
Not a lot of do, like they're just out there, right? It's all
Yeah.
set up.
So talk a little bit about, like, so you said now your first agented book was Hold My Girl, and then you wound up with a 2-book deal. So going from I've sent out to 4 people and just kind of gave up to, okay, now I've got an agent and they've pitched to HarperCollins and I'm writing for HarperCollins. What happened in that gap? How did you find your agent?
I mean, so what happened was in learning how to self-publish and to try to do it well and to try to
Mm-hmm.
make some money with it, and I never made much. I started learning about the publishing industry and the
Mm-hmm.
marketplace. And before that journey, I had only ever read books that you'd study in university or would have been like part of the scholastic classics when I was younger.
Right.
And I didn't know what was selling, and I didn't know what modern day readers were gravitating towards in bigger
Mm-hmm.
numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started learning that. Like I'd never even read, I don't think, like Jodi Picoult or at the time, like Jennifer Weiner. This was in the like early to mid 2000s, and I think she was
Mm-hmm.
a really big, and she still does well, but she was a really
Mm-hmm.
big seller then. Like I just didn't know that existed.
Mm-hmm.
And so self-publishing really exposed me to that. And I started studying and saying, like, what do you need to kind of break out? And then also, when I became a mother, suddenly I realized, like, I do not have time or energy to write, to be basically an independent publisher, because
Yep.
that's what it is when you're running a self-publishing.
Yep.
And a lot of people in that industry, they don't call it self-publishing, right? They call
No.
it
Right.
authors, which is
Yep.
a more accurate
Yes.
term for it.
Yep. I like that evolution.
It's a lot of work, like the marketing, the advertising. It's really a full-time job in its own. And I was just too
Yep.
drained to do anything creative.
Yep.
And so I was like, something has to go. The kid can't go. There's no point in making the writing go.
She's here to stay.
Running like this, kind of my own publishing
Mm-hmm.
endeavor that needs to go. And so I really looked into what would grab an agent and hopefully one of the big 5 publishers. And when I came up with this idea, like I'll say the log line, it's 2 women go through in vitro fertilization only to find out about a year later that their eggs have been switched and there is only 1 surviving child. And I don't know how many times when I've said that and people have just been like,
yeah, right.
Like, that's it. That's the book. Yeah. And so I kind of worked from there, and I did a lot of research into querying. I did a lot of research into agenting, and thankfully it worked out.
And where's your agent? In Toronto?
No, she's in London, UK.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so when I was doing the introduction, and when I also looked at, I'm going to share the screen here with all of your books. We Rip the World Apart and Hold My Girl have several different covers. So talk a little bit about how that works. And
yeah. So because I'm Canadian, my agent thought it would be a good idea to carve out the Canadian rights. So I could have a specific Canadian publisher, and which is a really great idea for media, for literary festivals. Like I think a lot of literary festivals won't have an author come in if they're not, published in Canada.
Yeah.
And so because she's from the UK and she knows people there, sorry, I don't know if you can hear my baby. She like never cries when she wakes up for a nap.
Oh,
I can't even remember the last time that happened.
She chatting?
It might be that she hears my voice. But I got a light on for her, so I'm sure she's going to play with some books in a moment.
Is she okay? All right. If you have to go get her or go come, you just let me know.
Yeah.
I'll share more of your website. We roll with it.
Can you hear her?
Oh, yeah. Now I do.
Okay. We'll see. We'll give it a minute.
What a sin.
But yeah, so I have separate publishers in different territories, and those publishers want their own cover of the book.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how do you juggle like 3, 4 different publishers? Like, how does that work?
Well, they only give one editorial letter, which is helpful. So they get together and they decide which, you know, the Canadian is my lead editor. And so
Hmm.
she'll usually send the letter. If we do a call, all three editors will be on the call.
Hmm.
So that's a fairly smooth process. And then the rest of it is just, yeah, I mean, I think how you would juggle with one, except you've got three.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. And so, when you started to get a lot of exposure, and recognition, I mean, how did you react? Like, what did it feel like?
It was really exciting. Yeah, I don't know. It's a dream come true, you know. And as I say, there are ups and downs, right? Like there
Hmm.
are people hear about the really good stuff that happens. They don't hear about the good
Right.
stuff that happens most of the time.
Uh-huh.
But I, I mean, at the moment, I'm living my lifelong dream. You know, when I was
Nice.
growing up, people would ask what you wanted to be. I would say I wanted to be a teacher and an author, or a social worker and an author, or a veterinarian and an author. And I never thought that just author could be
Could be it.
the
Oh,
job. Yeah.
nice.
And, you know, I'm very cognizant of the fact that there are so many highs and lows in this career. And, you know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe I will need another income source. But at
Hmm.
the moment, this is doing it, I guess.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
And
it's
so,
really I'm so thankful, and I try to appreciate that, and the flexibility is really wonderful. Like, you know, I'm able to stay home with my kids and I write during
nice.
naps and in the evenings and on weekends, and so
That's wonderful. And you are working on something else now?
yeah. Well, actually, at the moment I'm on a break, which is nice,
Oh, yay.
but the next revision letter might come in any day now. Um,
Okay, so you're in between edits.
yes.
Nice. So I want to shout out Marianne Ward is watching us. Yay.
Hi,
And she
Marianne.
commented, I think it was from Hold My Girl. She says, best log line ever. Yeah. And like, really is like your heart's in your throat. I actually had to stop reading to come and get ready for the interview. And I'm like, I don't want to stop. But do you have an excerpt from one of your books that you'd like to read for
Yeah.
us? I would love
So,
that.
maybe I won't say where I'm reading from, and I'll just make sure there's no spoilers.
Okay.
In the past weeks, Grans told me about Femi and Ella and Chevelle. Oh, sorry. I have to say before, there's a Jamaican speaker in this scene, and I can't do a Jamaican accent, despite it's from my heritage. Yeah, so that'll just is what it is. Okay. In the past weeks, Grans told me about Fema and Ella and Chevelle, about my father, how he was taken, how although she wasn't able to help him as much as she hoped, she's so thankful she had those extra years with him, could care for him again, care for me when he couldn't. If there be one thing me got right, she says now, it be to carry on, because life, no matter what form it in, no matter the pains tacked onto it, means something. She places her paper frail hand on my cheek, cups it. We here for a reason, baby girl. We here until we not. And with the life me got left, me gonna get up in the morning and keep on getting up, just like me always have, even if me no longer see the sun, because the sun still rises. She stops, and in her eyes I see the memories, the losses, her children, and all the people who came before. As long as you live, she says, in every bad, if you wait, if you look, eventually you see a good that wouldn't have happened if not for the bad, some lesson, some joy, some something. It doesn't mean you're happy the bad thing happened, but you're happy for the good. You hold on to that. You be thankful, holding the good. It's what my mother never realized, but I hope is starting to discover. It's what Gran clearly has done, what she had to do after what she lost, her babies, and other things too, things she's barely brushed the surface of, but that I sense lingering in her pauses, the way she skips through certain aspects of her personal history, what she alluded to the day the secret started unraveling, and in the advice she gave my mother that long ago night. She lowers her hand to mine, squeezes, smiling. This be the good I have now. You, and you, Karila, ya good thing, ya enough. Moisture builds behind my eyes as I exhale, raise her hand back to the side of my face, and lean against our joined flesh. I continue to ask her questions about the past. Not that the past on its own can give us answers. We've got to carry those for ourselves. Or at least that's what I think, what I hope, what I'm trying to do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just love the sense of the older woman passing the knowledge and advice, and it's very heartwarming. But you don't shy away from the tough subjects and the sensitive subjects. And in these two books that I've read, um, it's subtle, but it's not avoiding. Can you share a little bit about the like a summary of We Rip the World Apart, so people get a sense for what it's about?
Yeah, so it's a multi-generational story, a saga about three women. And the driving kind of force of the novel is Karila and her life. And she's a young woman who discovers she's pregnant with a child she's not sure she wants, with a man she's not sure she wants. And that kind of initiates this effort to really figure out who she is and her place in the world. She's a Jamaican Canadian, and the other two women are her mother and her grandmother, and all of them are dealing with the loss of her older brother who was killed by police. And so there's a lot of exploration of family secrets, of betrayal, of systemic racism and injustice, and identity. And I think at its core too, it's about belonging and it's about love.
Oh, oh my goodness. And how did this storyline come to you? Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
So it first started. So I never met my maternal grandmother, and the grandmother novel is named for her. And I just started wondering what my family's journey would have been like had she survived. So the geographical journey of the family is very similar to mine, in that my mother is a Canadian who went to Jamaica, married a Jamaican, lived there for a while. Then they moved to Toronto around the same historical time period, and then eventually to the Maritimes. And both of them were raising biracial sons in Toronto at a time when there was a war on drugs that in very many ways was a war on Caribbean men. And yeah, I wanted to explore what that would have been. And then when George Floyd was killed, and I started seeing people just like opening their eyes to the racism that exists in our society, and suddenly like believing it and suddenly feeling all this empathy and thinking like this has been going on for a long, long time, and wondering what it would have been like for a family who had that happen before people realized it doesn't mean that it was the victim's fault, right? Like when at a time when people thought, well, if the police shot, then they must have been doing their job. It must have been justified. And so I kind of merged those two ideas.
Oh, it's very thought provoking. Are you finding that the
Sorry, just one
conversations?
moment.
Oh, yep,
She's trying
absolutely.
again. I will
Yeah.
be right back. I'm so
But oh
sorry.
no, that's fine. Do you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to share with everybody, that if you sign up for Charlene's newsletter, you will get a free copy of this beautiful book, Before I Knew You. So if you go to charlenecarr.com/newsletter, so you see that right there, then you will receive this thought-provoking, heartbreaking, and full of the beauty of second chances. Says dive into the enduring story of a woman who fights for her dreams even when everyone she loves is against her. So that's a wonderful motivation to sign up for Charlene's newsletter. I did that myself, and I'm looking forward. I will finish Hold My Girl first, and then I will jump into Before I Knew You. So that's a really great way for my authors who are watching out there. If you are looking for ways to reach out to readers, I really encourage you to start a newsletter and find something that maybe if you have a short story, if you know, have a, you know, even a chapter of your book is a great giveaway for someone who signs up for a newsletter. So, you know, I applaud you. And, you know, the other thing I think is really important to emphasize here, Charlene, is that you have a big, one of the big five publishing houses behind you and supporting you, but it doesn't mean that you can walk away from the marketing, does it?
No, that's a
So
hard balance.
yeah, it really is. But I guess the fact that you started as an indie author and you studied that and knew um, before you were you know signed before you signed with HarperCollins what goes into it. So you probably still already had that foundation, did you?
Um, I think so. I mean, it's very different.
Mm.
And in some ways, it makes my efforts seem a lot less important because anything I do moves the needle such a
Teeny.
small degree
Yeah,
compared to what they can do.
yeah.
And then a lot of the methods that I used for marketing and advertising as an indie author
Hmm.
don't translate over when you're traditional because you can't control your own pricing,
Right,
right? And
right.
so, like promotions, sales, that was a
Hmm.
huge part of how I would, do my advertising,
Hmm.
and you can't control that.
Hmm.
And sometimes you don't even know ahead of time when it's going to happen through the publishers.
Right.
And then also, a lot of my readership, like I have a very robust newsletter
Mm.
list, but
Hmm.
because many of them came to me through my self-publishing
Indie.
or indie publishing efforts, they're largely e-readers, I think, and
Right.
they are used to paying like
Less.
$3.99 or less for an ebook. And
Right.
so, when
Yes.
my books came out and they were, I think, 14 to 16.99 on ebook,
Mm.
those readers, it was just like it's a lot harder for them to,
You're
and I
right.
understand.
Of
Um,
course.
so whenever I
But
do hear about, my publishers doing a like March
sale.
Madness, the books are usually kind of $3.99 or below. I make sure that I let my readers know.
I mean, that's amazing. So they do keep you abreast of promotions that are coming up, do they?
Some and some publishers. I said I have three different publishers. The communication isn't the
Hmm.
same with all of them.
Hmm.
Um, and especially now that I'm like the books are a little older.
Hmm.
Um, so there have been a couple times that I learned about a sale just from seeing it somewhere.
You're like,
you know,
oh, yay, look at
yeah.
that. And I want
So
to thank, oh, Angela Rose Sampson is watching. Angela, oh, she has a wonderful children's book called I Have Anxiety. Nice to see you watching, Angela. She says, oh, wow, that's amazing. I'll definitely have to sign up. So she's going to sign up for your newsletter. And the
thank
Marianne
you.
had some tears in her eyes when you were reading your excerpt, as did I. I'm like,
There I am.
yeah, I love it. So before we wrap up, what does happen like in the lead up to a launch of a new book? Like, what are the things that the publisher does for you, and what do you have to be prepared to do?
Um, Again, it's different with all the publishers.
Mhm.
In Canada, it was a lot more hands-on for me just because I think I was
You're
here and I
here.
was able to do
Hmm.
things. So before Hold My Girl, which was one of their lead titles, um, you know, I went to like a booksellers event, or no, I actually didn't make that one. I got COVID, but I
Oh,
was supposed to be the guest author at a bookseller event, and so I did
oh.
record a video for them. And I wrote a letter for Indigo that they could distribute to like all their buyers in their
Mhm.
stores about the book coming out. I did a couple of events here that were various, like relating to some of the indie booksellers.
Mhm.
Um, I recorded some like Instagram videos at various points for HarperCollins. Yeah, in the US and the UK, it was a lot less involved. I guess
Mhm.
because I couldn't do any in-person things, and I think they just run things a little differently. We had hoped that I wrote a few short stories based on the characters of Hold My Girl, um,
Excellent.
that we won, that my editor was hoping to get in magazines, and unfortunately, one of the ones that we had really hoped for, it didn't get past, like, I guess the head editor. It was,
Oh,
it was dealing with women's issues, and
yeah.
it was a scene, I believe it was of Tess going in for her egg retrieval, like
Uh-huh.
before the story would have started, and the male editor thought it was a topic that readers wouldn't want to hear about. And so I think like both the editor who had been interested and my editor, my publisher, and my agent, we were all very unimpressed with that. It
Oh
happens.
man. Well, can you use it for something else?
Maybe I haven't found
Yeah.
an opportunity yet, but maybe
Use
I'll do
that
something with it someday.
as your giveaway for your newsletter if you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am. I still hold the rights, but
Excellent.
I kind of forgot about it. I haven't thought about it in like 4 years now.
Mm. Well, there you go. There
Yeah.
you go. But as we wrap up, I want to remind people if you want to learn more about Charlene and her books, visit her website, charlenecarr.com. Sign up for her newsletter, get that free short story. It's very exciting. Do you have any last words for potential readers, fellow authors out there about this whole life of an author?
Don't do it unless you really love it. Like I hear a lot of authors who, and like there are parts of it I don't love, right? Obviously,
Mm.
copy editing sucks. Like proof, going through the proof sucks, and I'm the type of
Yeah.
person who has to look at every single change. I can't just press the
Yep.
copy editor. Um, but people who talk about like it's such a burden to write and kind of laboring through it, and I don't understand why they do it.
Mm.
Like maybe it's for there is something in them that pushes them toward it. Maybe they
Mm.
feel that way because of imposter syndrome. I don't know. I'm
Mm.
not saying all my writing is easy. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it feels like a slog. Sometimes, I'm bored with what I'm writing. But in general, like I love it so much. And I can't imagine a job I'd rather do. And I
Oh,
feel like unless you feel that way about it, it's probably just not worth it.
oh,
And this is speaking from someone who actually has been paid from it, you know?
right, right.
But even
Still.
before I was paid, I
Hmm.
wrote for like 10 years before I made, more than enough to take my family out for dinner 3 or 4 times a year. And I'm not joking, right? But I
I hear you.
labored all that time because I loved it and I love writing stories and I love putting that into the world.
Hmm.
And just like find another job if that's not how you feel. Don't be this like
Oh.
sad, like tortured version of an artist. And I guess maybe sometimes those people put out really worthwhile art, but like you got to live your own
Right,
life too.
right. They're probably
And then
living
the
in the
other
wrong
thing,
time, right?
if you, pardon?
I said they're living in the wrong time. They should have
Yeah,
been like with Ernest Hemingway and
yes. But the other thing is, if you do love it and you want to do it, don't tell yourself you can't because you don't have time, because you can always find time. And like I heard a stat the other day, and it was something like 250 words written for 1 year will get you over a 91,000 word draft. 250 words takes like 20 to 25 minutes to write, right? And even
wow.
if you can't do that every day, maybe you can do it 3 times a week. And then maybe in 3 years or 4 years, you have a full
Right.
draft. Like I wrote Hold My Girl with my now 8-year-old who was 1 and like couldn't nap. And I wrote it, the majority of it, in 15 to 25 minute sprints. on like a tired, not sleeping through the night brain. So like,
Oh,
you know, you
oh,
can do it. And a lot of people just like, oh, I don't have time when I retire, when the kids grow. And just
yep.
like, if you
You're
love it,
now
do
my new official hero. And I
it.
hope Marianne was plugging her ears with that because she's waiting for the first draft of my next book.
uh,
I'm like, oh, I just don't have time. So, yes, thank you. We hear you. And I mean, such amazing advice. Angela says, I understand that. I'm always writing, even if I don't think it'll ever get published. I think that's amazing advice. So, this has been such a wonderful chat, and you've got some wonderful advice, and the books are incredible. And again, reminding people to visit charlenecarr.com, and we'll get you back when the next book comes out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
It's a delight.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. And thank you all for watching The Author Journey. I'm Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing, and I hope you'll join us again when we have our next author come and visit. We've got a couple more weeks to go, and then we'll be taking a break for the summer. We're in June right now. July and August, we'll take a break, and then we'll be back in September. But we still have a couple weeks to go, so watch all the social media, OCP's social media, to see who's coming up next. So we'll see you soon on The Author Journey. For now, I'll say goodbye.